why am I here? Who am I? What's my background? It's important to know. So for the last 10 plus years, I've run a training company for entrepreneurs, ranging from professional skills to digital marketing to Amazon sales, providing books, courses, and coaching all under this one umbrella. Um, and yeah, around 2014 is when I first published my first product on Amazon. It was a book. Actually, it was a few books. At first, it was a miserable failure, as it often turns out. You publish your first book or first product, and crickets, crickets. Uh, and then I tried a second, and it was crickets, and then a third, and it was crickets. And then after a number of revisions and a number of attempts, the books became good enough. A few of them became good enough, and today they're relatively popular and used. They're business books. My most popular book is a business planning book, and that book has started being used in a number of U.S. universities, like University of Kentucky, University of Pepperdine, where I regularly do these kinds of calls and actually give talks. And uh, after some years, as I've coached people also on Amazon, and so they can replicate what I did, I started having some successful clients. The one client that I'll talk about in this call is a client who had a very interesting journey. He was For 20 years, he had a brick and mortar business where he was going to people's homes and literally scrubbing the grout lines. If you know what the grout lines are, grout is the lines in between your kitchen sink and tiles, the kitchen tiles or bathroom tiles, and a lot of dirt really gets accumulated there. So he had that business, and he started getting a little older, like in his 50s. He started having some health problems, and he couldn't do that business anymore. So he came up with a solution, a powerful solution that cleans that stuff that's like for years in those grout lines. They're very hard to clean. And he couldn't sell it. And he was trying to sell it on YouTube, and he was trying to sell it everywhere from his website. And the sales were like always under like $500 a month or something very disappointing. He couldn't get out of that main business he had. And this is where I started working with him. And he came to me and he's like, well, if I can just make $5,000 a month, I'll be so happy, because then he could quit that main job. And for a few months, he struggled. But once he started doing exactly what I told him, because everybody has their own learning curve, you never take some information and replicate it exactly as it is. People have learning curves. And so, of course, we hope for the fastest and the best, but there are learning curves when you get into something new. But eventually, once he figured out that business, and I'll explain as the call goes on, I'll explain what were the crucial inflection points. He started seeing revenue. Like 1 month, it was like just under 1,000, and then 1 month it was like a jump, 2,000. Next month, 5,000. Next month, 10,000. Next month, 20,000. And before that, he was kind of sad and depressed because things just weren't working. And I was on these Skype and Zoom calls with him, and he was just kind of sad looking. As I saw, in his eyes, you can see when an entrepreneur is struggling, you can see that, they're under stress and they're not doing well. And it was kind of heartbreaking. But then all of a sudden, he started having these crazy spikes. And at some point, 40,000, 6 figures a month. And then at some point, of course, I started talking about him as my case study, because, hey, he's a very successful case study. Because then a lot of people started wanting to become my clients because they wanted to get his results. And at some point, he just asked me, hey, please stop telling people how much money I'm making, because it's ridiculous. Because he literally had to rent out a giant warehouse just to store all his inventory. Because if you imagine that volume he was selling, if he was out of inventory, he would be losing a lot of money, because he would get orders that he couldn't fill. So his life changed. His whole family, not just him, his whole family quit their jobs. His son started working for him. So he's been off to the races. I haven't talked to him in some time because, obviously he doesn't need me anymore. But we talk every rare once in a while, but I don't get too much into his business now. It's more like, how are you doing? Great. But that's where he is. So I kind of put $10 million just because he started asking me not to tell his exact figures, but he definitely is over 7 per year. I would estimate. He doesn't tell me anymore. And I think cumulatively, definitely over 10 million. Um, and it's definitely sales. Profit is obviously a smaller profit. I don't get into his profit margins. I'm kind of out of that business now. There was a question in the chat, if anybody missed it, whether it's a 10 million in sales or profit. Definitely sales, but definitely some millions in profits as well. Very at the end of the day, a far cry from the 5,000 a month he wanted, and life-changing for his entire family, which is really what he was after. So that's a happy story. Does everyone end up like that? Unfortunately, no. Then it would be so amazing, right? But I'll do my best today to explain everything, um, so that you can be as well equipped as whatever information I gave to him. So that's a little bit about me. Also today, what my online training business looks like. I'm not sure if you're familiar with udemy.com, but today I'm one of the top instructors on Udemy. I have just under 1 million students teaching business, digital marketing, professional skills, and things like that. We'll also look into that shortly on this call, just so you know where I'm coming from. So basically, just for the last 10 plus years, I've been training people how to succeed with some successful case studies. So with that introduction, let's move on and talk about, okay, when you're a new seller, or when I talk to new sellers, the first question I get is, well, I have this product that I want to sell, but I don't have a following on social media, and I don't have a big email list, right? Because wherever you go online, YouTube, or people will be like, you should grow a following on Instagram or X or whatever it is now, or or you should, you should get an email list. And if you have that, that's fantastic. I mean, you can make a lot of money if you have a good email list, but most people just don't have that. So the good news is that you actually don't need it, because even though the first thing people think of is selling on social media or selling on YouTube or selling on your email list, there's a moment of pause that should happen, and well, uh, Amazon is the biggest store in the world. Why would you go outside of the biggest store in the world? We should leverage the biggest store in the world, Amazon. And that's what we're going to talk about today, that you really should not be going outside of Amazon. If you're going outside of Amazon, it should be for, like, in terms of your marketing, it should be for very specific things to give your listing a boost. But you can do everything on Amazon if you get it right, which is what we're going to talk about. And this is these 4 marketing strategies on Amazon. So this is the good news. The challenge is, of course, Amazon is competitive. Amazon has its own problems. We'll talk about that. But it is the biggest store in the world. This is really arguably the largest benefit of Amazon. Like, if you can sell there, and if you can reach, they have the audience. We just want to get their audience. So how do we do that? Here is the overview of what we're going to talk about. The 4 strategies are: number 1, on Amazon SEO. Like, if you're selling socks, when people are searching socks, if you sell socks, you want to be number 1, not the number 1 listing that comes up in Amazon. If you're the number 1 listing, you're going to be selling a lot of socks. If you're on page 2, you're going to be selling a disappointing number of socks. It's pretty much like that. So you want to be coming up in Amazon search, and for most products, they're mostly found through Amazon search. So Amazon search is incredibly important. We're going to focus mostly on that, because without that, it's rough going. With that, it's kind of smooth sailing. So Amazon search is number 1. Amazon ads is number 2 strategy. I have a love and hate relationship with ads, because when you run ads, you run into you cut into your margin too much, right? Let's say, for example, you sell a widget, and maybe you make like $5 profit on that widget. But if you have to spend $4 in Amazon ads, you're really making a very tiny amount. So, Amazon gets you with the commission. With now, your competitors are going to run ads, so you're kind of forced to run ads. And so ads are a challenging environment. Like, the margins are getting smaller because the bids are getting more expensive, the ads are getting more expensive. It's a challenge in terms of both finding profitable ads, because it takes some financial experimentation to get ads to be profitable. They're not usually profitable on day one. You have to refine them and calibrate them. And even if you do get profitable ads, sometimes the profitability fluctuates and decreases over time. So ads are a challenge, but it is a tool in our toolkit. So it is an important marketing strategy for Amazon. Now, also, Amazon has categories, product categories. And if you rank highly in the category, that also will get you sales right from Amazon. You don't have to do anything else. And obviously, Amazon recommends products next to other products. This is another strategy that we're going to talk about. Sometimes in the recommendations used to be more prevalent. Now, a lot of the real estate on Amazon, where Amazon used to say, people who bought this also bought that, that it's called the also bots. That now those also bots are getting replaced quite a bit with ads, which, well, if you run ads, you can still get your product in that placement. So it isn't all bad. But again, sellers are kind of getting squeezed out a little bit here and there. So these are the four most important things: Amazon SEO, Amazon ads, category ranking on Amazon, and Amazon recommendation, with some bonus strategies. That Amazon is a marketplace. Marketplaces operate on an algorithm. The algorithm to rank you depends on a number of factors, many factors, but some are more important than others. Some important factors that increase your sales immediately, sorry, are what's called SERP, click-through rate. SERP stands for Search Engine Result Page Click-Through Rate, meaning if you sell socks and let's say you're the last item on the first page, but your listing looks more attractive, your thumbnail picture looks more attractive, your title looks more attractive, like socks worn by the Taylor Swift, and everybody has regular socks. All the other sellers have regular socks, and you have socks from Taylor Swift. Well, a lot of people will buy socks from Taylor Swift because they'll be like, wow, that's so attention grabbing, right? So because Amazon will see, oh, for the search socks, people are buying the Taylor Swift ones, that's going to be a very high quality signal that, hey, this listing that's now number 10 should be higher because it's a more of a match for that search. And that will be one of the ways in which you're going to jump over your competitors. The second way, the thing that we're going to talk about, is once people click on your listing, after they search and discover your listing, after they click, your sales page conversion rate, the higher it is, like let's say out of 100 people, if one person buys your product out of 100 visitors, that's a 1% conversion rate. Not so good. But if 5 people buy that product, it's a 5% conversion rate. Guess what? Amazon's making more money, 5 times more money, right? Provided the price is the same. And because Amazon's making more money, naturally their algorithm is going to prefer listings that are making it more money. So we're going to talk about, and I'm going to provide you with resources towards the end also for sales copywriting, for how to make your listing really good, as good as it can be, so that you can have the highest sales conversion rate combined with the best click-through rate, so that your listing itself is the advantage over other sellers. And one more thing we're going to cover is review management. We're going to talk a lot about reviews, because every 0.1, like if you have a 4.0 rated product, it's going to sell better than a 3.9 product sell, or worse than a 4.1 rated product. The review score is vital, very important. And there's a whole science to review management. I'll give you some uh, a variety of ways to improve your reviews. So let's say your product is naturally, if you just leave it, like let's say it's 4.3, but if you do certain things that are totally legitimate within the Amazon terms of service, perhaps you can raise it to 4.6, and then it's a winning rating. So we'll talk about how to do that. So, and because that's also the reviews, the review score by itself has an incredibly disproportionate correlation to sales. If you have a low, same product, same everything else, if you take two sales pages and put them side by side, one has a 3.9 and one has a 4.5 rating, the 4.5 is going to outsell the 3.9, even if it's everything else is the same, by a tremendous amount. That review score rating is super important. It's not the only thing that is important, because obviously there are so many factors, but this is one that's going to give you outsized results, which is what we want. So that's what we're going to cover, all of these topics in this call. Next slide. So let's start talking about Amazon SEO. SEO, of course, search engine optimization. I'm sure maybe most people are familiar with uh, Google SEO. Amazon SEO is different in a variety of ways. Let's talk about it. If later in this call, when we talk about keyword research and what keyword you should choose to place on your listing, um, when you choose your keywords, let's say you have a blog or a website, you have an unlimited number of pages you can make, and each of those pages can target a keyword. So you can have 1,000 keywords that you target with your business. Um, that's amazing. On Amazon, you don't have that opportunity, because usually if you have if you have one product, you have one listing, which only can target a few keywords, which creates a real challenge, because as a business owner, you want to come up for more and more keywords. And I'll show you a live example in a second. So, okay, the second point on the slide is very important. Let's take the socks example. I don't know why I always use the socks example, but socks. If you want to rank for the keyword socks, it's a great keyword. But, and let's probably say you're going to make $1 million a year selling socks. If you rank number one consistently on Amazon for socks, you're going to probably make number one $1 million a year, probably. But everybody knows that, all the sellers know that, and it's incredibly competitive. So maybe if it's so competitive and you find yourself that it's like difficult to rank, because everybody wants to be number one, and there's like 10,000 sellers of socks, or however many, and some of them are multi-million and billion-dollar companies. It's a little bit of a challenge to actually be number one. So the solution is to find longer keywords. For example, cotton socks, nylon socks. I don't know my materials, but let's say colorful socks, socks for kids. Right now, you're getting into a niche. So the keywords are getting longer. Socks for kids, certain sizes, whatever. Maybe socks with funny socks, right? Let's say funny socks is a subset of all socks. It's a much smaller market, but it's also way less competitive, because most people are going to be selling regular white socks, maybe dress socks. Few sellers will sell funny socks. There will be fewer buyers, but it will be easier to rank for funny socks. And a number of keywords like that: funny socks, yellow socks, red socks, socks with Disney princesses, unicorns, or socks for work, or socks for exercise. All of those are long tail keywords. If you had 1,000, or not 1,000, let's say 50 different socks, you could use that in each of those keywords in the title, and each different sock would rank for socks for basketball, socks for soccer, socks for exercise, socks for the gym, socks for walking, socks for hiking. Okay, or socks with funny pictures. You could rank different products, but you don't have, in most cases, all those different products. You have one listing, and it becomes a mess. Like, which keywords do I choose? You want all of them. if anybody was asked, would you like to get more traffic by ranking for more keywords, 1,000 out of 1,000 people would say yes, I want to rank for more keywords, but we can't. So we're going to talk about how to solve this. So let's go over an example of how to actually do keyword research, and we're going to use the Amazon Scout tools to do that. In my book, when I made it like 10 years ago or whatever, when I didn't have access to this kind of a tool. But if I um, look at keywords, so I'll go Amazon keyword research, and these are the keywords. Like instead of business planning, I'll go to like business plan, which is really what the book is about. I have all of these keywords on the left side, you see, and I have the volume of search so that I know what's my priority: business template, business plan. And so there's like a hyper 80/20 rule where most of the searchers are using these searches, and everything else is like a trickle. So my goal would be to create a cleaner title that's more attractive for buyers. Um, but the example I was showing also was that, the funny socks, right? Funny socks, like if I didn't have access to this kind of, if I didn't have access to this kind of a tool, I would never know, is this keyword in demand? Am I just being crazy by thinking that people want funny socks? But by searching this, you can easily see, okay, funny socks, 9,900 people a month are searching this, right? But what I missed was that this tool later showed me was that fun socks, I believe, was the keyword. Fun socks was like 50,000 people searching this a month. So again, this was the fun socks was a suggestion by this tool. I would never know that, right? So this is what professional sellers use, because people who struggle, they don't know what keywords to rank for, and so they end up making random titles for their listings, targeting random keywords that they're not certain in the end if that keyword is good or not. And then, if they're guessing, it's impossible to guess it accurately. As you see, funny socks, I wouldn't have thought that there was a 5 times volume difference, but there is. So this is a kind of a tool that you get. This is a kind of a information that's vital, because if you create your product listing and if you do all your marketing, but you're ranking you chose the wrong keywords, so much effort is going to be either with no effect or underperforming your potential. It's on every listing, this weird number. And actually, you can copy and paste that number or multiple competitors and see what they are ranking for. So this is my ASIN from the business planning book, and you can see what I'm actually ranking for. What are the keywords? So you can steal keywords from your competitors, or, like that seller, right? That grout cleaner. That's, you can look up theirs and see what keywords they're ranking for. Obviously, grout cleaner is good. Tile cleaner, that's a really good, right? 12,000. But I wouldn't know tile cleaner. Like, I wouldn't know that it's better than necessarily um, grout pen or other ones, like, or shower tile cleaner. Like you just don't know. Um, so uh, this is why this kind of a tool is vital. That's really the key of what I was trying to explain, because imagine without it, I don't want to be too repetitive, but it's like you're guessing, and is really, and not only you're guessing, you also start second guessing yourself. You're like, well, why is my competitor selling more? What are they doing that I don't know? Well, yeah, they have a tool that tells them exactly what to do. So let me quickly read what I wanted to express here. So when you have multiple large keywords, like you want to target them all, but then when you have a lot of secondary keywords, you kind of lose the clickability and you start losing that traffic. So it's like a seesaw, right? You're like, trade-offs. There's not a perfect solution. So the keyword research tools are so important for that reason. Um, Next slide. Then the on-page optimization. I'm going to kind of go quickly through this just because I spent so much time on going over the SEO and those tools that I want to speed up a little bit. But for the on-page optimization, the vital things are to explain exactly what the product does, so there's absolutely no confusion. Um, between the benefits of the product and what people actually get. Because as marketers, we always want to say this is the best product, and we over promise a little bit discrepancies, not natural. But when people get something that they didn't expect, like you told them this and this, but they got something else, um, they're going to be disappointed, not because of your product, but because there's a difference in what they expected and what they got. When that happens, they leave bad reviews. So you want to be very explicit about the benefits. You always want to talk about the benefits. Um, and very importantly, for many niches on Amazon, most I would say actually, um, the way the listings work is you have your brand name and product title. So if your brand name is Nike, that works in your favor. Um, Nike socks, beautiful. But if you have a brand that's unknown, which is, if you're a new seller, you have a brand that's unknown, and you have a brand that's cryptic, like XYZ Pros, Seller Pros, or whatever, some kind of cryptic name, it's going to read horribly, right? The title of your, because they put the brand name first in the listing. So it's going to brand XYZ Pro sucks. Who wants XYZ Pro sucks? Nobody knows what that even is. People are going to skip that. So very important, choose a brand name. If you're still early, choose or change your brand name to something that actually aids readability and explains it clearly that it's not only socks, but it's greatest socks in the world. So choose your brand name very, very careful. Don't make it very generic. Make it helpful because it's part of your title copywriting, which is so vital. And manage reviews. I am going to talk about how to manage reviews because it's super important. Um, uh, in the beginning, most people get reviews from friends and family because no actual buyers buy any products that have no reviews. It's incredibly hard to sell products that have no reviews. So in the beginning, you're kind of having to get some reviews. If you have a friend leave you a review, that's going to show up as an unverified review, which looks, it's literally doesn't have that verified little marker on Amazon and looks not so trustworthy. It's better than not having it, but you need verified reviews. How do you get verified reviews? It's from buyers. So one strategy is in the beginning to get some friends and family to buy the products to help you. Maybe you reimburse them another way. This is kind of a gray area, but it's done just in the beginning. In the long term, this won't help you because if your product listing doesn't sell itself and if the product by itself doesn't have good reviews, no matter how many reviews you fake in the beginning, it won't help you. But in the beginning, you need that lift to make you competitive. And you need that lift quickly after you launch because the algorithm looks at the acceleration of sales, acceleration of reviews. If your acceleration is higher than competitors, great, you're going to jump over eventually. If it's not, you're going to stay ranking lower. So it's vital. And so you want to maintain high reviews from early on and be getting those reviews early. This is where, like, maybe one of the rare times you want to go outside Amazon to look at um, outside, like, hey, can I get some reviews from my friends on social media or my Facebook or whoever, or promote so that you can get a little bit more. But you don't really need it in the long term because hopefully in the long term you're just making more sales on Amazon from the same amount of traffic, right? More people are clicking on your listing, more people are buying when they land on your listing. This is the main thing. When that happens, you're in a very good place. When it doesn't happen, you're in like slightly less good place or a lot less good place. If that's why I spend so much time talking about the listing, because it's super important to get the keywords right, the listing right, the reviews right, all that, because if you do that, the Amazon algorithm will prefer you. If you don't do that, it will prefer somebody else, which you don't want. And we'll talk more about reviews. Reviews are super, super important. Now, skipping ahead, review management. I sorry, I'm going a little bit in slightly disorder, but exact explanation of the product is really important. Now, the next way to get reviews is in your packaging materials. When people get your actual whatever you're selling, the box that you're selling, in the packaging, in the uh, package, You want to have a little printout. Here is where you can get our support. What does that do? If they have a problem and they hate your product because they have a problem, not because of your product, but because they can't figure out how to use your product, if you don't provide support, they will go to Amazon and say bad things about your product because they're so disappointed. But they don't want to do that. They actually just want the product to work. So they will very often try the review support option first. And actually, this is one of the advantages that my grout cleaning seller had. He had a whole Facebook group just for people trying to clean the grout. And people were asking questions in the Facebook group, and he was answering. He had like an automated chat bot set up so that people were getting help right away. And in that Facebook group, he was also asking people to leave reviews. So not only he was reversing the 1-star ratings, which he got in the beginning. In the beginning, he was getting a lot of 1-star ratings because people didn't know how to use that cleaner exactly. But once he started adding exact instructions into the package, and in the instructions, he in big bold text said, "Hey, here's where you can email for support, and here's the Facebook group for support." In that Facebook group, he prevented 1-star ratings, and people who never rated or would have given 1-star ratings ended up becoming 5-star raters because they were getting really good support and they were getting the actual benefit of the product that they wanted in the first place. And that actually was the catalyst. When he started doing that, the rise, if you recall earlier in this call, I was talking about like there was a jump, 2,000 1 month, 5,000 1 month. This is because his reviews started accelerating way beyond all the competitors. He wasn't even running many ads at that point. So, uh, so that kind of a thing. In the packaging materials, support option is definite, but also you want to encourage interactivity. Like for example, in my case, I don't have an option to add something in the packaging slip because in the package because I sell books. So Amazon prints it, Amazon ships it. I never have the physical product. So in the actual book, I encourage like interactivity. Like I mentioned, hey, you can ask questions. Here's my email. So I provided my email, and every once in a while, people email me. If they get extra help, they like leave better reviews. Every once in a while, I ask for reviews. Now I don't really ask for reviews anymore because my main business isn't the book; it's really the courses. Um, but when it was important for me, like really important, I used to ask people for reviews and got at that time I was getting a higher star rating because of that. So definitely encourage interactivity and definitely support. And when you provide support, over deliver, over deliver, over deliver. Like make customers really thrilled. Because support is just yeah, you're gonna get reviews, but when you're when they need another version of your product, let's say the grout cleaner runs out, and if they get good support, they're going to buy another one and another one. So if the first one was with ads, the second one won't be, and maybe the second one will be from that seller's website, for example, so he doesn't have to pay the Amazon fees. So long term, you're making a lot more money from the same clients if you're providing really great service. So customer support is super, super, super important. um let's see. um Notice we haven't actually discussed Amazon ads and category rankings very much, and the Amazon recommendations, because they start working when you have a great listing and you're already selling, and your sales page has a lot of reviews and a high review score. This is when those things kick in. You start ranking in the category, you start getting Amazon recommendations, and your ads become more profitable, because running ads early on can lead to loss in revenue, in loss of your money. Because if you run ads to a sales page that's not ready, not highly converting, you're going to lose money with that, right? So people have a tendency to want to run ads early, but you want to be a little bit patient with that, because ads are a great option, but you have to be able to make them profitable. So we got to make the sales page highly converting first. Yeah. But when these strategies do kick in, the ads, the recommendations, the category, the SEO, even notice these are automated. You don't have to do much long term. You do some work in the beginning, get it very right, but long term is kind of a passive business, which is a really great thing about this. Now, I want to give you a sneaky good way to get reviews that most people don't talk about. Reviews is more or less obvious. Support is more or less obvious, but some people, this is within the gray area of Amazon. I don't actually know whether they're okay with this. It used to be that you were allowed to click on a reviewer's name and contact them through Amazon. Like it used to be fine. Obviously, uh, a lot of sellers contact reviewers who leave 1 star, and the reviewers don't want to be bothered. So they took out off this option. But many people have a unique name. So if you have a reviewer who has a name like me, I have my name, Alex Kinedinik, is the only name like this in the world. And many people have a very unique name, or if not, there's like 3 of them. If there's such a case in your reviewers, you can contact them on social media. Find them on Facebook, find them on LinkedIn somewhere. Don't ask to change the review, ask for feedback so that you can engage them in a conversation. And sometimes, half of the time, they'll be like, I misclicked, or I was disappointed, but I figured out how to use it and I'm happy with the product now. But wait, you're happy with the product now. You left a 2 or 1 or 3 star rating. Would you mind changing it? And then, obviously, if you reverse your 1 stars into 4 or 5 stars, that's going to dramatically increase your overall star rating. And a lot of people don't do that strategy. This is an uncommon, kind of a sneaky under the radar strategy, but it is legitimate. You're only contacting people for feedback only, not asking in the first contact, not asking them for changing their rating only later if they really admit that it's they're really a mistake. So, but it's a common thing. So that's a really good way to prevent and reverse bad reviews. And then more review strategies. Some of them I discussed: asking for a review in your packaging materials, creating a Facebook group for customer support. Doesn't have to be Facebook, but customer support. And obviously keep improving the product if it's possible, because that's the easiest and most natural way to get better reviews, is to have a better product. There's no question about that, never an argument. So this is really what you want to do: how to organize your listing, how to do your keyword research, how to create an optimal listing so that you have the highest click-through, the highest sales conversion, so that everything over time starts working in an automated fashion, and hopefully you start outranking your competitors, kind of from A to Z, without having to do funny dances on TikTok. This is an Amazon listing. We were just on it before. What you'll see is some items here are blurred out, but if we run AI product analysis on this product, it will run for a little bit, and then it's going to tell us what we are doing right with our listing and what we are not doing right and what we can improve. Because no matter how much experience you have, even me, like I have some experience with Amazon, but I know I would never get everything right. It would be totally arrogant of me to think that I will get everything right. I'm human, I'll forget. So this tool tells you insights and product improvements ideas. So let's look at the actually, I wanted to go back to insights, but we have to wait for this one more time. But again, if you're sitting at home and you're wondering, like, what should I do? What should I do to improve? I don't know. And that's really the case for most people. It's like you made your listing and you don't know what you don't know. You don't know your blind spots. And this is where a tool like this really helps. So it tells you like what to do, some tips for improvement. Like here's a good tip: offering a product in a bundle. Obviously that makes sense, right? Because you can have provide more value, and here it says you can increase your conversion rate by 5 to 10%, which would be amazing. Which we've been talking about that so much. You not only, obviously, in the bundle it would be more expensive, but because you're offering more value to your clients, the sales conversion rate is higher, and so suddenly it's a great. This is almost like a business model. This is like thinking beyond just Amazon. This is like your business model. Why not sell a bundle? Like, for example, this suggestion is really good because, as you'll see, there's already bundles in this space because sellers sell a product and a brush. That's a bundle. But also, if I go to my client, you see he sells a bundle, 2 products and 1 brush, just makes more money from the same listing. So that was a really brilliant suggestion that actually competitors are already using, which, so that's a really good suggestion from this AI tool, which like looks at your listing and actually gives you suggestions like a really smart business person would. And you can run analysis on your listing and also get all these kinds of things like what's happening, what's the average price. There may be a listed price, but what's the average price? So you can run a lot of um, research on your competitors and see what the market is really like. So you get monthly sales. What this particular competitor, this is actually for the category, because I'm on the category, I'm on the search page here. So that's also really good, because a lot of times with my Amazon listings and even with my courses as well, I sit there and I'm like, I thought I did everything, but it's not performing as well as it could. What can I do better? And I sit there and I think and I think, and that's the hardest part of being an entrepreneur who's like a solopreneur. You don't know. Sometimes a week goes by, a month, a year goes by, and somebody points out, hey, you could be doing this better. So that's like, you would get that immediately within seconds with this tool, which is actually, I wish I had when I started. I would have like sold so much more, and I wouldn't have made all those mistakes that I made, because I kind of, whatever success my business planning book reached, it was like partially obviously because of me, but partially despite of me. Despite all those mistakes, I was still able, but the potential could have been so much higher if I had access to a tool like this early on. So with that in mind, um, there's some features that I talked about. We'll skip this slide. And also, one important thing in the Amazon Scout tools, you can get a database of products to see what kind of products are popular, what kind of products are in demand with like high demand, low competition products, things like this. So you get a lot of that kind of ability to research.